Hello and welcome back to Dr. Logic awkwardly does logic in her office. Today I want to talk about the truth conditions for the Stoic conditional. Now, unlike the case with negation, conjunction, and disjunction, where there was this unified Stoic account of the truth conditions of those sentences, even if their account of disjunction isn't the same as our modern account of disjunction, that sort of temporal disagreement doesn't conflict with the fact that if you just look at the Stoics, they all agreed that disjunction should be taken in an exclusive fashion. This isn't the case with conditionals. There was no unified position that everybody agreed on, and what I would like to do is highlight three of the important different accounts of the truth conditions of conditionals that can be found in Stoic logic, and then also say a little bit about what types of propositions are true on which accounts. So the first account belongs to a guy named Philo, or possibly Philo, I'm not entirely sure. He says that a conditional is true if the if it's not the case that the if part is true and the then part is false. So consider the proposition, the conditional proposition, if today is Thursday, then I have 15 cats. This is, alas, a false conditional on Philo's account because today is in fact Thursday, but I don't have 15 cats. Sad face. On the other hand, if I say this exact same conditional tomorrow, it'll be true. Tomorrow, if today is Thursday, then I have 15 cats. Turns out true on Philo's account because it's not the case that the if part is true and the then part is false, because the if part will be false tomorrow. Let's contrast this with the view of Diodorus Chronos. He says that a conditional is true if and only if it is never the case that the if part is true and the then part is false. So while if today is Thursday, then I have 15 cats is false today for Philo but would be true tomorrow, it's going to be false for Diodorus on both days. Boo, we don't like you, Diodorus. So in this case, so long as there is at least one time that the antecedent, the if part, could be true and the consequent, the then part, could be false, that's enough to make the entire conditional false. So what you can see is that Diodorus's account of the conditional is much stronger than Philo's. Fewer conditionals will turn out to be true on his account. Now, modern logicians, hearing these discussions, like to come in and say, ooh, Philo's account of the conditional is the material conditional or material implication. Diodorus's account of the conditional is strict implication. Now, I want to go on record here and say this does depend on your interpretation of kind of broader Stoic philosophy and what they mean by never the case, always the case, possibly the case. So you have to look at questions of modality in order to argue precisely, do these match up with modern conceptions of material and strict implication. I'm not going to say anything more about this here. I'm flagging this issue up. And if you're interested, there's a really interesting paper by Alan Hayek that came out in 2009. I'll put the details in a comment on this video, where he discusses why and in what cases it is appropriate to talk about Diodorus's implication as strict implication or not. All right, end discussion. Let's talk about Chrysippus's view. Chrysippus's view is complicated because we don't know exactly what it is. What we have are statements from other authors expressing views that later historians of philosophy have attributed back to Chrysippus. But independent of whether or not this was like Chrysippus's view, the view itself is complicated because it involves concepts that are not necessarily made explicit in the Stoic literature. So I'm going to give you the definition, but I'm not really going to say much more about it than that. So the view attributed to Chrysippus is one that's actually articulated by Sextus Empiricus. And he says that this is the view that a conditional is true whenever the contradictory of the consequent conflicts with the antecedent. So you take the if part, and then you look at the then part, but you take the contradiction of it. So whatever the then part is, stick a not on the front, and then ask yourself, are these two sentences conflicting with each other? Now you might be saying, teacher, I have a question. And I hope your question is, what does conflicts with mean? That's the million-dollar interpretational question to try to understand Chrysippus' view, and why I'm not going to say much more about it here at this point. I will say that this is interesting because it's connected with a view expressed by Diogenes Laertes concerning the validity of an argument. So he expresses a definition of argument validity as being an argument is valid when the negation of the conclusion is incompatible with the conjunction of the premises. So again, we have this notion of tension or conflict between the negation of what is supposed to follow from either the antecedent or the premises. So there's a very brief introduction to 3 flavors of Stoic conditionals. What we will look at in the next video are how to put all of these different types of complex sentences together into complex argument forms, and how do we determine if the resulting argument is a good one or not. Hope to see you then. Cheers.